Hey Dad, put my favorite song on.
God wanted the opportunity, so I'm going to show you guys our new way the kingdom perform.
Man, innovation in the use. So I want to show you guys this. Hope you guys like it. Let us know what you think.
Performance.
Are we on?
So the purpose of this, what we're trying to accomplish here with Kingdom Community, I feel we've grown to so much to where it's all been about kingdom and us focusing on kingdom and building up kingdom performance so much that now it's a time for us to like bridge the gap and try to bring in and work with and collaborate with other entrepreneurs, other trainers,
Right.
other organizations, other businesses, not even, they don't have to be sports related businesses.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, but my thoughts is I feel like we've always kind of had that mentality. Like I felt like, of course, we're focusing on our brand, our business, our vision, but I feel like the vision was even derived from a community aspect, you know, as far as collabing with, you know, different people, different professionals, working with different athletes, regardless of who they even play for. So I felt like we've always kind of had that spirit of connection outside of our domain. Right. So but I think that this is the right platform. This is the appropriate platform where I feel like people will feel comfortable and open to, you know, want to come into the room and have a seat, have a conversation and see, you know, how we continue to push the culture forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that, I mean, and we worked with a lot of, you know, individuals, a lot of other, tried to bring in a lot of other trainers, but I don't think they really understood what we were trying to do. I think, and I think a lot of people aren't really keen to understand what we're trying to do. I think, like you said, this is the right platform. This is the time and the level we're at to put it out there and make it known, and pretty much bringing in the community to Kingdom.
Right. I mean, even looking back kind of where we started, so to kind of talk about that part, because a lot of people don't know like the backstory. You know, sometimes people see you where you are and they think that you've always been there. Of course, we had a lot of, you know, loyal supporters and, you know, athletes that we've had since they were beginners, that have been a part of the program to see our, you know, growth and maturity. But a lot of people don't know kind of the genesis of it and how it got started. So, man, from your perspective, like, how do you feel like, how do we start? When do we start? How do we get here? And then I'll kind of go in after you and, you know, kind of give the people a little bit of that history before we get deep into kind of where we are this season.
I mean, and looking back and going way back, 2000 and I always say, you always say that to me it was 2010, 2008,
yeah, that's right. I'm on point with you.
Okay. And me starting out as an engineer at Abbott Laboratories, and my frat brother started Crossover. We came out with a Crossover training vest.
Shout out Crossover. Shout out Dano.
Yeah, shout out Dano. Crossover. He's still going strong in Houston. So that was, you know, a tool that really captured my attention, and really I was able to utilize that in order to get into the basketball training realm business, which I've never, you know, I never thought of doing. And the opportunity presented itself with me going to Houston, learning how the vest works, which was, I saw it was a great tool, wonderful tool, always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and brought it back to Dallas and just took about 2 to 3 weeks of showing it to people, getting their ideas, what they thought about it, trying it on, working out with it, and just thought it was an incredible tool to use to help kids develop in basketball and learn how to dribble, and if they already knew how to dribble, make them a better ball handler.
For sure.
And so in the evening time, working at Abbott in the daytime, evening time, going home, changing my clothes, that the job was I lived in Irving at that time, and then drove to North Dallas and going to PSA, showing it to people, and then working out a deal with Sportsplex to start renting courts from them and training people there, training kids there, and just started from nothing,
man.
And it just continued to grow and grow and grow. And came up with the concept because initially I was doing just training the athlete here and there, just like one-on-ones, and then came up with the concept of doing a crossover academy, to where I can train multiple athletes in a group setting. And the unique thing about the crossover training vest is it doesn't matter your skill level or your age. If you have it on, you're working. And so it didn't matter if I had 5 different skill levels.
Right.
I still can train them. So that concept of having a structured program, an academy, was the next step. And so then once I implemented that, it grew up to about 10 to 15 athletes. Then I realized, okay, I need someone else to help me with this because it's growing. And then I put an ad on Craigslist.
Oh, okay. Before you go there. Okay. So now that's 2010, right? The ad on 2010. The ad on Craigslist, looking to continue to grow, realizing that.
Well, let me say the training,
yeah,
and all that started in 2008.
There we go.
To start training and using the vest and building up my confidence,
right,
and expertise in the vest.
Yeah.
Then
there you go. Because I think that needs to be stated, right? So 2008, that's where you were, right, in your journey with the basketball industry, right? And my journey was a little bit different, being that I was, I'm younger, right? So I'm still in the trenches as an athlete, playing, right?
Pro athlete.
Well, I think before that, yeah. I mean, so the vision for me came in 2006. I was at UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio. Shout out the Road Runners. I was there, and I was at a pivotal moment in my life. Like I had just lost my best friend, Mark Hall, rest in peace, Mark, who was one of my good friends growing up in San Diego. He was also my roommate at a junior college that we played in Seward the year prior. So I was at UTSA for my first season, and he had passed away in a car accident before. So I was at a real kind of rocky road. Like I was young and just trying to figure out, get acclimated to school, and that happening kind of put me like in a funk, right? As it would anybody. So I remember one of our good friends had gave me a book called The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. A lot of people are familiar with this book. And I knew I was made for more, right? Of course, I was an athlete my whole life, but I knew I had a bigger purpose into serving the community. So that's why the kingdom community makes sense for what we're doing here. And so I was reading that book. I didn't have a name. I was just like, man, I just want to have a facility. I want to have a place, where athletes can come and develop and grow and be supported. And, this grand old layout where players just feel like they're in heaven almost. Like that kind of was my vision. Didn't have a name, didn't have anything. So I was reading that book, and it was talking about, how our purpose is to build the kingdom of God. Right. And that click, right? So the word kingdom stuck out. I was like, man, kingdom builders, that's what I want to do. I want to, these kids are going to all come in with the purpose of getting better at basketball. But ultimately, I want them to see life at a bigger level, to be able to use their gifts to empower the kingdom. So it made sense for the name. So I was like, Kingdom, put performance at the end of it. And that kind of was when the name was birthed. That was 2006. Okay. Right. So that happened. Went overseas after I graduated in 2008, played a couple years in the Netherlands. Was able to actually do some camps and clinics with kids over there. So I had never worked with players up until that point. So I had a vision of having a gym, but no experience with working with players till I went overseas. So I went over there, started doing camps and clinics in the community. The general manager, Gert, shout out to Gert. He helped me out with my logo, got the first Kingdom logo. So it was already moving, developed the website, kind of got the back end stuff rolling as a player, as an athlete internationally. So I played for 2 years, got injured. And then in that summer going into that into my injury, I had a camp. This was in 2010.
Okay.
So 2010, I was like, I'm going to do a camp. That's when I linked up with you, and it just made sense, right? It made sense. So when you put that ad on Craigslist about the vest, I saw that as a tool, a different way of, enhancing the development of these players. So it was perfect. So we connected, got going, and it seemed like it just took off like nothing. Yeah, it took off from there.
There was times, we would rent the court, and it was a time when I look back of us learning the business, and for a while it was just strictly crossover.
Yeah. And
so you were coming with me and doing crossover, and you humbled yourself,
right?
And was a trainer. I was paying you, and it would just be me and you, and we go to a court. Sometimes we'd have an athlete, sometimes we wouldn't. Whenever we went to a court and started a new location, we ended up having like 4 or 5 locations.
Right.
And, I distinctly remember location in McKinney, YMCA, when we started there. Didn't have anybody one day, and then next it just would grow to where we'd have 10 people, 20 athletes on a half a court, and just training, and got to the point of, you would always, we were growing, things were moving on, picking up, making a name for ourselves in this industry. And one thing, when I always think back, you would say, "Hey, Rod, let's go ahead and let's partner up. Let's do this." And I was like, "Man, no, not yet. It's not time. you got to put in some work. You got to put in some more work." And but I always knew, just with your spirit and your passion of working with kids, and your knowledge, your basketball knowledge and basketball IQ, and how the kids gravitated to you. And remember when I think you did a camp, right?
Yeah, that was in 2010.
That's when you did the camp.
That's when I did the camp.
And you had the Bibles, and you had, it was like just this extraordinary camp. And I was like, "Keith, why can't you?" And then you had me. I was a trainer at your camp.
Right.
And then we did the vest. We did the vest at your camp.
No. That was the second time. That was the second camp. The first camp you didn't. You let me use the vest. But you weren't there. Yeah, you came to the second one.
And so I was like, "Man, how come you can't do this? Do this with me with crossover?" And you were like, I was like, "I want this, Keith."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want all of what you're doing here with crossover. And you were, what would you tell?
The thing about it, and a lot of people are going to be understand this, when it's yours, when it's your baby, when it's your idea, when you're the one spearheading it, you have a different energy behind it, right? It's an energy that's unmatched versus, okay, I'm humbling myself to serve alongside somebody else's vision.
That's the key word, humble. Yeah, you got to humble yourself.
You have to humble yourself.
And I'm gonna get to that.
Yeah, and that's important, because I feel like in order to be a leader, you have to be a follower. Like so I saw what you were doing. I respected what you were doing, even when I was doing my own thing. That I was like, dude, I can learn something from this. Like, you have it going, you have the momentum. You have the traction, so it makes sense for me to come up under, humble myself, learn and grow, and then God will work it out. Like, that was always my thing. I knew we were going to get to this place, right? And that's why I would kept tugging on you, pause. I would, and saying like, "Man, we got a partner, You just weren't ready for it. You didn't see it yet. I saw it before, and it was just a time that we both had to wait, and I'm glad it happened.
Right. Yeah. And, then once we got to that point, and we're skipping a whole bunch of stuff when we're at Landmark. Landmark
Yeah,
was
that's a
really,
lot.
just in my mind, just thinking about, when I bought the shoot machine, which is a dinosaur.
We still have it though.
We still have it.
Yeah.
And we were transporting it on a trailer.
Mhm.
And really, when you first came and was working with me with Crossover, I was at work and I needed you to transport the shoot machine, this big old ton, almost a 1 ton shoot machine from Lifetime Fitness to Spring Creek Community Church. Yep. And it was just so many different things that we did to get us here. But it's just when I think about the word humble, you had to humble yourself in the beginning, and then I had to humble myself when we partnered up and
this
became
was
Kingdom Performance.
And when was this? What time? What year was this? So we were.
That's 2016.
Was that? Yeah, about that.
Landmark.
Yeah, Landmark. You're right. Yeah, Landmark.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So from 2008 I started. Then 2010 we hooked up, and then we were doing Crossover.
Right.
All those years.
But we did that. But a part of the humbling, which is important, the other side of humbling is execution. Right. I feel like it's easy to humble yourself when you see the fruits, when you see somebody executing and delivering on what they say they were going to do. And that's always kind of our motto. So while we were doing Crossover in the academy and the training, I still had Kingdom as far as private clients and also teams. Remember, I started doing teams from that, and that started to grow and develop. So I was able to see, your fruits from the academy moving forward, and you were able to see my fruits from privates and teams and all that. So it made sense at that time for us to bring the brands together, which was the Kingdom Performance Academy in 2016.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then from there, just continue to grow and continue to expand and create nonprofits. As far as with the Special Skills Academy, and then Saving Souls with our shoe nonprofit. But then I know that we just, with creating those nonprofits and wanting to give back to community and doing the Soul Church, incorporating that into our program, we had a desire to bring other people in, or really try to work with other people. And you were always good at that, as far as being in the basketball realm, and other coaches that you knew, other players that you knew that were wanting to start their own brand or their own training, and bringing them in. We've come across a lot of people, and still have those relationships today, but also trying to create new relationships, with what we got going on now.
For sure.
And we had the conversation before, and I'm like, man, why won't people continually try to collaborate or partner with us? And then what did you say?
We know what it is. People see competition, like, and I can humbly say this, like, I don't see competition, like, and I think that others shouldn't see competition. And even when we're training our athletes, we say the same thing. Yeah, there's competitors. Yeah, there's an opposition that you have to go against, right? That you're battling for, to win the game, or battling for a scholarship, or whatever the case may be, battling for business. But I feel like there's enough for everybody, right? There's enough schools for everybody to attend. There's enough business for people to get. So I feel like, what God gave us is for us, and what God gave them is for them. And I feel like we can serve a lot and accomplish a lot together. We can do more together collectively than feeling like we always got to be against each other. So that's my plea, right, to the community of people who do this. And hopefully this platform will be able to, convey that to where
Right.
they see like, oh man, this is for real. Like we could, break bread together and grow together all at the same time.
Yeah. And that's where, we both agree and are passionate in that. And, we've had some people do the collaborations and partnerships and went well, and then they go on about their way.
And that's kind of what you want.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like when if you're a head coach, you have assistants, you want assistants that want to be head coaches one day. So,
and then you think about like, and when I say that, like McCoy with what's his
Destined for Greatness.
Destined for Greatness. Shout out to Coach McCoy.
We'll have all these people on the show.
And so, him working with us, and I don't know if we gave him his start.
100%. And I'm going to save it for him to tell you. I was his first call when he landed in Dallas. None of us are from Dallas.
Right,
so,
right.
No, he got my contact through a mutual friend and hit my line, and I was open. So I felt like we've always been an open book. And yeah, of course, the game is sold, not told in certain aspects of regard. But I felt like we've always been transparent in our journey and to help other people, and rooting for them to win, because again, it's enough for everybody. So so to wrap this first one up, man, I'm just grateful for where we are in this season, and we'll get more into depth, as far as like the exact time frame that we're in and all that. But we're in a good season of growth. We've come a long way, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we're the longest lasting partnership, I think, in Dallas, as far as two people with the same brand, Black brothers for this long, since 2010. You know what I mean? It's 2022 right now that we've been going strong. We ain't switched up. We ain't switched the shirts. We've been consistent, as far as who we are and what we represent. So I feel like it's only right that we kind of pioneer, and step out and speak of our process, our growth, and where we're going, and see where we can go with it. You know what I mean?
Right. And we'll try to bring in others with us.
That's it.
And promote them as well.
That's it.
So that's what this is about.
That's it, man.
Welcome to the community.
Welcome to the community. All right, bro.